Here's a preview of what you'll hear on this episode of Beyond the Wheel.
For anybody that's listening that maybe isn't really in the RV life so much, but I mean, an RV is still a vehicle and it heats up in here without the AC. It heats up in here just like it would in your car. I mean, you can easily get up over 100 degrees in an RV without the AC on.
I could see too, not putting your slides out,
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, no
Maybe
slides.
I'll email him, Kenny.
Now enjoy the show.
You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety, so go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
Whether your adventure is on the road, on the water, or off the grid, Battleborn batteries keep you out there longer.
Hey everyone, Kenny here. Do you travel with pets and are looking for a way to monitor and be alerted of temperature spikes in your RV while away? I've been using a Temp stick in our RV for over 3 years, and I love the simplicity of being able to connect to any of our hotspots, as well as not having the hassle of any subscription or service fees. If you are looking for a reliable way to protect your pets while away, check out TempStick at tempstick.com.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Wheel podcast. Today is a guest list show, or otherwise known as Driver's Edition. It's just Sean and I. We're going to talk about some RV news. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in our own lives. And we're also going to share some personal experiences of us being on the road and traveling with our RVs. But before we get into all of that, we want to welcome our new sponsor. Recently, we interviewed Jason Miller, who is the CEO of TempStick. Jason was very impressed with the show. He had a great time on the show while we were interviewing him. Sean and I think, we probably spoke to him for about 30 minutes after the recording. And he was just like kind of spitballing questions, I guess would be the term for it. And he just had questions about the RV industry and the life and things like that. And he really enjoyed the conversation that we had with him, and he reached out to us and said, hey, I really appreciate you guys having me on the show, and I want to sponsor the show. I think what your guys are doing is really awesome. So we really welcome TempStick. I've been using TempStick for almost 4 years in my RV. I use it all year round. Summertime, I'm using the TempStick to keep an eye on the inside temperature of the RV for any times that we may leave Bell in the RV alone. It lets you set up parameters. So if the temperatures start to spike in the RV, then I know there's something wrong with the AC, or just that it's getting too warm for Belle to be alone. In the wintertime, I take our Temp stick. It's very easy to move. It's just Velcro to a wall, and I put it in our cargo bays. And in the wintertime, I use it to monitor our wet bays to make sure that we're not freezing. It'll send an alert to my phone and email and things like that. So even in the middle of night, for whatever reason, maybe our heat shut off or something went wrong with our furnace and we're no longer staying warm, it'll send us an alert and saying, hey, our water bays are getting too cold. You don't have a plumbing issue soon. So it's a great little device. There's no service fees or plan subscriptions or anything like that. I think Jason says it, and how great of a product does that make that be, that you just buy this product one time. I even told him on the show that, Jason, I bought this thing almost 4 years ago and I've never given you another dime since. But it's great in that sense. And now Sean uses the Temp stick as well. He's got a small, Toby's not all that small of a dog, is he? You can tell a little bit about him.
He's 36 pounds, but since I've been using it for about 3 months now, and actually we're near Annapolis, Maryland. I'm here for about a month, 2 months, doing some training. We have the Temp stick in the RV, and I was looking at it today while I was doing the training. I had a little bit of free time, so I said, let me log into the Temp stick and see how it's doing. First of all, it shows very good, it's very accurate, the temperature and the humidity readings, I feel like. And the thing I was surprised at is it's probably been 2 months I've been using it, and the battery, still at 100%. I mean, I was really impressed with the battery life, considering I have it set to monitor. I have it set for every 15 minutes because I just wanted to see how good it would do. I'm impressed with the battery life for sure.
That's really good. You have yours set to monitor a little sooner than I think. I'm 30 minutes, and then if I hit a parameter, then it steps it up to maybe every 5 minutes or something like that. It speeds up how often it's checking once it hits a parameter. But I think I have mine set for every 30 minutes. So that's good to know, though, that you have yours at 15.
Yeah, every 15. I just wanted to test it out, see how it would go, and it's working really good.
Yeah, it's a great little device. I always like simple stuff. So the fact that it's kind of small, now I wish I had it in my hand, but I mean, it's only like this tall. It's only a couple inches tall and, maybe an inch deep or something like that. So it can fit anywhere in an RV. It would be great for van life. Like no matter what size RV you have, there is place or a spot for this little temp stick. It's a really nice device. And it's nice because it works on you can use Verizon, AT&T. You pick the service that you want, whatever service you're already using. This just connects to your existing Wi-Fi. There's no additional service plan to sign up for. So it's
and
cool.
I actually have it running through my PepWave router, so I can actually switch services. Like during the day, I just get on the campground Wi-Fi through the router, and it stays connected. So the temp stick is just going through the router, and it's still working fine. So, like right now, I've switched my PepWave over to the to my Verizon card for doing this, and it's seamless for the temp stick. So it works really well with that, and it was really easy to set up. As long as you follow the directions, it took me like 10 minutes to get it all set up. That's including the customizing the alerts and everything.
That's the key right there, is follow those directions, though, because it's a little bit of a different setup than what you're used to. So yeah, you definitely got to follow the instructions. But once you do, like Sean said, it is a very, very easy setup. So yeah, like I said, we just want to welcome Temp Stick to the Beyond the Wheel podcast family, and we really appreciate their support. So they're not just like sponsoring a show or two; they're actually sponsoring us for the rest of the year, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's their website's pretty easy, tempstick.com.
Oh yeah, that's probably a good mention right there. And if you want to and go back in the archives and check out the episode we just did with him, it was about maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. It's a pretty recent episode. Really, really nice guy. I think he shares one of the things that we've noticed with other CEOs and founders of companies is that he is very customer focused. He wants to make sure that the customer is very satisfied with their product. Sounds like a company, again, that kind of bends over backwards for the customer. And it's a trend that I think you and I have noticed, actually. Battleborn Battery, same way. They're very customer focused. SnapPad, very customer focused. These companies, they want to make sure that the customer is happy. And I think it shows in the growth of the companies. I think all three of them are doing really well. I mean, SnapPad's not even a sponsor of ours, but we both have SnapPads and we really like them. So that's like a safety thing, I think, the temp stick, and kind of rolls us into our first topic, which is personal safety. I keep on every time so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go on our website and I'll search like our RV news page, but I'll also sometimes just type RV in Google and then click over, kind of scroll over and click on news. And lately, every time I do this, unfortunately, I am seeing somebody being attacked in an RV or a fire in an RV, or people being murdered even while camping an RV. And it just got me thinking that maybe Sean and I could sit down and talk a little bit about what we do to make sure that, we're safe and our pets are safe and our wives are safe. And I don't know if you want to kind of kick it off, Sean, or you want me to kick it off?
Well, I think one thing with pet safety is, just because we just talked about it, is having that temp stick, and also having the pet hub has been really good, because like you can update where you're at through their app or through the website, and then if your pet gets away, it's a lot easier for someone to contact you. So I would just recommend people go back and listen to that pet hub episode that we did and listen to how that product works. And I bought it right after that episode, and we've been using it ever since. And it really it does give you some peace of mind, I guess, that if your pet does get away from you and gets lost, that's very easy for someone to contact you.
Yeah, it's a nice system, a nice setup, the way they have that all set up. That, like you said, Sean, it is very easy. You can either call the Pet Hub number or, scan the tag. We've been using it for a long time too. And again, it's a free service, or you can upgrade and get the premium. But yeah, just to get started with it and use their service is free. So that is a good one. And then as far as personal safety goes, Sabrina and I have always said this when RVing, that we trust your gut. And I hear a lot of people say that. And I think you have to trust each other's gut. So if Sabrina and I are RVing and we're stopped somewhere for the night, maybe a gas station, a Walmart, no matter what it is, even a campground. And if either one of us has a bad feeling, nothing might be going on. But if I have a bad feeling or Sabrina has a bad feeling, we will pack up and we move the RV. We've done it. I mean, we've only done it twice, maybe 3 times in 4 years of full time. And we just actually got off the road not that long ago. But during those over 4 years, we've only moved 3 times, and it was just nothing happened. It was really just based, I remember one time in particular was a Flying J, and it just didn't feel right. There was just something about that parking lot and the area. And when you're driving across the country and you're in areas that you've never seen before or been to before, and you arrive at night, you really don't know, is this a good area? Is it a good neighborhood? Is it what's their crime rate here? Like, you could be in some pretty bad areas and you just never know. So yeah, I mean, we've moved just based on a feeling. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, we've done that too. We've only done it once, but we got to a campground and it was me that didn't, just my gut said, let's not stay here. Right after we set up, we tore everything back down and got out of there and went to another place. So yeah, I think that's true, that, your gut feeling, you got to trust it. And even if you end up staying, you're always going to be kind of on edge. So you're not going to either enjoy it if you're staying there for a few days, or you're not going to get the rest you need to get on the road the next day if you're just doing an overnight.
Yeah, that's a great point about not getting the rest. Because I know if we would have stayed at the places that we did decide to pick up and pack up and go, I'm sure I wouldn't have slept a wink those nights. Yeah. Just because I would, just based on the bad feel, or, if I did sleep a little bit, I'd probably keep on waking up. Yeah, that's a good point, that you're not going to get a restful sleep anyway.
Right.
And it's not the most convenient thing, because a lot of times, I mean, you were at a campground, that's a lot of packing back up. But even like when you're traveling, there's times that Sabrina and I don't really plan out our trips. I won't say that we don't plan them out great. We just don't typically plan them out, because you just never know what's going to happen a lot of times when on the road. And most of our trips have always been long stints in between. So we kind of just drive for as much as we can in a single day. And there's been times that we've gotten to places that I'm kind of tired, but I remember we packed up anyway, and we're like, I'm tired, but I'm willing to drive another 30 minutes if it means we get out of here.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, trust your gut. And I think another one is, you hear a lot of people, pay attention to your surroundings. And it probably sounds like it's a no-brainer. Of course, you don't pay attention to your surroundings, but it's easy to get caught up in something, especially RV. And, you might step out of your RV and who knows, maybe that's making a weird noise, and you're focused on what's going on. I know Sabrina and I, one time, it was daytime, we stopped. We parked in a large parking lot, and Sabrina crossed the street to go to a Walgreens. And it was like daytime, but it was dusk, and our headlights were off a little bit in the RV, and I wanted to make an adjustment to the headlight. So, like I said, we're kind of like in an abandoned parking lot of a store that was shut down, and Sabrina was at the Walgreens. So I'm like up underneath the RV trying to adjust. We have a Class A. I'm trying to adjust the headlight and get it straight. So I'm focused pretty much on what I'm doing. I'm not really focused on what's going on around me. And Belle is inside the RV, and she starts barking, which isn't unusual, but she kept on barking and barking a little bit more, and she sounded more aggressive about her barking. So I got, and at first I was kind of annoyed at her. I was like, what is she barking about? But I got out, and there was somebody at our door standing on our steps about to open our entry door. And I probably had it unlocked, which is another no-no. Since that day, we have never gone anywhere, even at a gas station, and not locked our door anymore. But it was unlocked. I said, "Can I help you?" And this guy was like, "Oh, I want to go in and say hi to your dog." I was like, "My dog does not want you to go in there and say hi." And I said, "And honestly, I don't want you going in there. And I appreciate if you just kind of move along." And I'm a nice guy. Like, I didn't yell at the guy. I didn't get aggressive with him. I just said, I'd really appreciate it if you just moved along. And he said, "Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother anybody." I was like, "That's fine, but I'd still like you to move along." And, he just moved along. But it's, like I said, it's easy to get caught up in something and kind of
lose focus on everything else.
Focus on everything else, because I was like focused on this headlight, trying to get it straightened out before it got dark out so that we could continue driving. So,
yeah, we just actually had that happen last night. We were walking the dog and we kind of got lost. So when we got back to the parking lot, it was kind of dark outside already. And we were loading up the dogs, and Julie was trying to put Jack, our grandson, in his car seat. She was talking to me and she said, "Do you remember the name of this park?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, I'll just look it up later." And there was a guy in a van a couple spots over, and it wasn't like a Sprinter van. It was like the child molester van, I call it.
I can picture what type you're talking about.
And he said the name of the park. He was a couple of spots, and we were like kind of taken off guard because we didn't even realize somebody was right there
and
sitting
listening
in the van. Yeah, and listening,
watching, and all that. Yeah.
We were focused on the dogs and the kid, and so absolutely, you got to stay focused. And I usually am pretty aware of my surroundings just from my past, but now, that really, like, I was like, oh man, I'm slipping.
I felt the same way, Sean, because I pride myself in always, because Sabrina, I will admit, is not that, she will even admit that she's not that great at paying attention. She grew up in a great neighborhood, very, and I'm not saying that I grew up in a bad neighborhood, but I did grow up in Philadelphia. I have been held up by gunpoint on my way home from high school. So I kind of pride myself on paying attention and stuff like that. And I feel like I really slipped up that day, that I didn't know that somebody had approached our RV, or that I wasn't aware completely of our surroundings. So I think having Belle, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way, having Toby is a nice little deterrent. And and even though, as great as I like to say that I pay attention, nobody's paying attention more than Belle is. Yeah. I mean, she hears things way off in the distance. Yeah. She has scared off coyotes when we were boondocking in Nevada. She's actually alerted me to coyotes that I didn't even know were there, because when you're boondocking in the desert in the middle of the night, it is pitch black, and we were outside. It was time to take her out for the night, and I always put her on a leash at night when we're boondocking, because it's just so dark and she's too fast. I don't want her to scurry away. So we stepped out of our RV, and she almost immediately started growling and snarling, and I couldn't see anything, but I shined the light, and about 10 feet from us was a coyote, kind of trying to sneak up on us, I guess. And she flipped out, and then, I waved my hands and flashed the light and yelled at it. And, between the two of us, it took off. But I guess if I didn't have Belle, there was been no reason for me to go out in the middle of the night. But if she wasn't there, I would have never seen this thing. It was super quiet, sneaking up on us. But she either saw it in the dark or heard it in the dark. Or smelled it, maybe. Smell is probably the correct answer there.
I heard coyotes smell pretty bad too.
Yeah, I would imagine. They don't look like they smell good. They're kind of scraggly looking. They look rough. But I don't think coyotes would attack. I don't think they typically attack humans. But Belle's only a 26-pound dog, and I'm sure she looks like prey to them.
I think I was just actually reading about coyotes, and I think there's been, I want to say, 3 coyote attacks in the last 10 years in the U.S. And it was all I think it was mostly on kids, younger, smaller people.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
that would make sense. And I wonder if it was a one-on-one, or I think coyotes usually are pack animals too. We hear them here in Arizona all the time. We're hearing them they sound like children laughing or something in the distance.
Yeah.
And it always sounds like, yeah, it sounds like a group of them. It never really sounds like just one by itself. This one was in Nevada. This one was by itself. As far as I could tell, it was by itself, unless if it had backup sitting somewhere else that I couldn't see because, like I said, it was dark. But it was kind of scary for a little bit. But yeah, I think having Bell helps.
When we're boondocking, I actually feel pretty safe because there's usually not anyone else around. So I feel pretty good when we're boondocking out, out places. But I always, well, at least in states where I'm allowed to with my concealed carry permit, I usually always have my gun with me too, just mainly for what you were just talking about, wildlife, because I would hate to get attacked by like a bobcat or something like that out there in the middle of nowhere, where even if you make it away, you're going to be injured. So I always carry my gun just for that reason.
And then when you're carrying so I know I kind of talked to you about this before, when you're carrying a gun in an RV, I don't carry a gun in the RV, but I probably shouldn't admit that, but we don't carry a gun in the RV. We go to Canada a lot and we cross a lot of borders a lot. So it just becomes a hassle for us. Like, what do we do with it? So do you ever have to be worried about what state you go into when you're carrying? You have a concealed, what is it, Sean?
I have a concealed permit for mine, but when I'm carrying it in the RV, even if I'm in a state, going through a state maybe that doesn't have the my concealed carry won't work, I always keep it when we're traveling in the RV, keep it like locked and keep the ammunition separate from the gun, so it's legal, I think, to do it that way.
So similar to it, as if it was in any other vehicle. I think they typically, one in the glove box, and as long as they're separated. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and locked. And I think it has to take more than 2 steps for you to actually pull it out and load it and be ready to shoot somebody.
Okay.
I don't really ever carry it, though, to shoot people. I carry it more for animals,
Yeah. I wonder statistically, I guess I could look this up, but I always am more concerned with other people. And again, it might just be the way where I grew up and things like that. I always feel like more people are out to do harm than animals are. And it's a terrible thing to say, but it's especially a terrible thing to say because Sabrina and I have had nothing but good interactions with 99.9% of everybody we have ever met. So it's really a terrible mindset that I have, that I always think, oh, people are bad. But honestly, I think just 2 times, that one guy that tried to walk into our RV, who knows what his intentions were? He might have wanted to just take a nap. Who knows?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I bet you they got a bed in there. And I can remember one time in of all places, everybody talks about how friendly people are in Canada. This one guy was like really arrogant and fired up at a campground in Canada, yelling at, I don't know, several of us. Like there was a group of us in line for registration, and he was like frustrated that he couldn't get through registration faster. And he kept on coming up to like everybody's window and saying, "What's taking so long?" We're like, "I don't know. We're behind this. What do you want us to do?" I don't know. But again, he wasn't. He was verbally violent, but he wasn't physically violent. So I'm telling you, I'm always paying attention. Sabrina's like, man, when somebody comes up to you and they talk to you, you're like focused on them. You're paying attention. You're watching them. I'm like, it's just the way I don't turn my back on people I don't know, I guess.
Yeah. Not being a city person.
Yeah. And you also, at the same time, you're trying to focus on them, but you're also trying to pay attention to what's going, do they have a friend? I'm just paranoid, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Paranoid. City life. Yeah. Like you said, Sean, that's city life. I think it helps to, it helps and it doesn't help. I think Sabrina and I always let people know what state we're in, what campground. You and Julie always know where we are. We have our friends, John and Nadia. Not that you guys could do a whole lot because you're out of town. We're never really that close to each other, but we always feel better at least having somebody know where we are, how long we're supposed to be there for. And you and I talk every day. John and Nadia, we text every day. And if we go a day where we don't talk to you or Julie, it seems weird, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what happened to these guys today?
Yeah.
So we're quick to try to find out. Same thing with John and Nadia. If we don't hear from John and Nadia for a day, we're like, oh, where are these? Because those guys, I mean, they boondock everywhere, which will get me to my next, make sure our next one there. But I think it helps to let people know where you're at and keep a good community of lines of communication open, friends, family, and all that.
Yeah, we do the same thing.
Yeah,
which even we're here like in
we
a populated part of Maryland. We still let people know where we are,
and then that kind of brings me to the next thing too, is like where people letting you know where they are, camp where you're allowed to. There's times that Sabrina and I will have gone to places, boondocking and dry camping areas, and we're just not 100% sure. It's not always well laid out. This is camping. This is okay to be here overnight type of thing. So if you're not 100% sure, you're probably better off just moving to another location where you are sure that you're allowed to be. Who knows the reasons of why you wouldn't be allowed. You could be private property. You could be on government property that they don't want you or anything like that. I think camping in designated camping areas, whether that be BLM land or wildlife management or campground, of course, but camp where you're allowed to camp, and don't just be parking anywhere, I guess.
Well, I think then you're just kind of inviting trouble.
I think so.
Yeah.
There could be good reason why they don't want campers or I think there could be good reason for it. So I think that's all of our tips for being safe, trying to stay safe, and then
next. Oh, go ahead.
Nope.
I was going to bring up this next article that we were going to talk about, the day parking in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. This is kind of interesting, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. Apparently, they want more RVers to come to Seaside Heights, which is on the Jersey Shore, close to Tom's River, I guess, right in that area. They're going to let RVs utilize the municipally owned but commercially operated lots to park their vehicles. And it's between the hours of 8 a.m. and midnight. And it really gets you access to the boardwalk, I guess. And
you can walk
like it's close to the boardwalk and the beach.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of weird rules with this that I think sort of takes away from it.
Yeah, as RVers, I agree with you, Sean, that it takes away the coolness of being able to park so close. They almost want you to treat your RV like it's a car.
Yeah, you can't use your RV. Like there's no idling, no running a generator, no additional space for grilling.
I think it actually said no cooking at all. And I took that as in, they don't want you even using like your propane grill inside. And they don't want, like you said, no generator means no microwave unless you have a very nice solar system. But it falls back to their other rule that says no cooking. So
yeah. So basically you can just park there. And there's a campground not too far away that we looked up. I think it's called Cedar Creek. Is that what it was?
Cedar Creek. Yep. Cedar Creek Campground. Yeah. Maybe,
which also has access to the beach.
You can bike to it.
Yeah. I think they at least need to let you use your RV for like cooking or, what if you wanted to go in there midday when it was really hot and just like take a nap or something?
Right.
I don't see what the harm in that is.
Yeah, especially for the hours. It's like 8 a.m. till 12. So they don't want you over there, overnight, but you're allowed to be there all the way till midnight. So it's nice that they're letting us park RVs there, which is always great because RV parking in general is difficult. I didn't Google Maps it to see, could I fit my Class A there? Or are they talking about RVs that are like vans? I agree with you. It's like what is that term? Like a catch-22. Yeah, park your RV here, but don't use it. Just park it.
I agree with no overnight parking, things like that. But I think you should be able to at least use your RV while you're there.
Or define the rules a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, if you have a nice solar system with a 2,000 watt inverter and you can run your generator without making a lot of noise, because, maybe they're worried about say you got 10 RVs all lined up and everybody's got a generator running.
Yeah.
It's going to take away from the experience of the boardwalk, the beach, people trying to be out, just enjoying the outdoors. And then you hear all these generators. But yeah, if you got a nice solar system, what's the harm in running an electric stovetop or running your microwave? Maybe AC, not so much. ACs aren't that loud, but if it's a noise thing and they're trying to, no one's going to hear you cooking, like using a microwave inside your RV. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess we could still use you still got access to your refrigerator and you can make cold food. Food. I guess you're not really making cold food, but make sandwiches and salads and stuff like that. So I guess there's those advantages, but I think of beach time, like you said, as being hot.
Yeah.
So, you probably want your AC, like, for anybody that's listening that maybe isn't really in the RV life so much, but I mean, an RV is still a vehicle and it heats up in here without the AC. It heats up in here just like it would in your car. I mean, you can easily get up over 100 degrees in an RV without the AC on. Yeah.
I could see too, not putting your slides out,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. No
maybe
slides.
I'll email him, Kenny. Maybe I'm thinking I'm going to email this guy that's quoted in the article and see what are the exact rules, because this seems like you said, just like driving a car in there.
Yeah.
And most RVers don't, we like to use our RV a little bit.
Yeah. 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 That'd be great. If you contact them and we get an answer, then we could put it in our monthly newsletter.
Yeah.
And let everybody know what we found out. Because originally when I read this article, I was like, oh, that's great, because, RV parking is getting more difficult because, the sales and the numbers have been really exploding. We're it's becoming more and more difficult to get in their campgrounds. So I was like, oh, this is great. They're allowing RV parking. And then, like you said, though, the more you read into it, it's like, well, it's kind of like temporary parking. It's literally parking. Yeah. It's not overnight, which is fine. I'm okay with it. I agree with you. I'm okay with it not being overnight. I'm perfectly fine with not putting the jacks down and the slides out and stuff like that. But I think, it would be nice to be able to run the AC or make a little dinner or lunch. But then I wonder, I think you and I were talking right before we got on here, maybe it's because they want you, it's to bring in tourism and it's to bring you there to do shopping. And maybe it's so that you also eat the food there and maybe buy something at one of the concession stands, and maybe that's the reason why they're trying to do, they don't want you cooking. Because I could see even, they don't want us out there tailgating. They don't want you bringing a grill out and making a mess. But if you reach out to them, I would really like to know the answer. How do they feel about if you're able to cook in your RV without a generator, like, if you had solar for electric stovetop, or if you used your propane for your gas stovetop, would that be okay? I wonder what their answer would be. Next up, we found out that there is a new, and this is good news also, because manufacturers are not keeping up with the demand of RVing, is that there's a new manufacturer setting up in Indiana. It's called Ember RV. It's going to be in that Elkhart area. It's pretty much, don't they call Elkhart like the RV capital of the world? Right. 80% of all RVs are built there. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. I think I wrote that down somewhere, but I can't find it now. It contributes $32 billion to the state's economy annually, which just kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, I had no idea.
And they're right now $14 billion behind in orders.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. So having a new company will help that a little bit, I think. So I checked out their website, emberrv.com. And right now, since they haven't really started building yet, they don't really have not even any renditions of what their travel trailers are going to look like. No floor plans or anything like that yet. So I'll be curious when they get that up to check it out and see what they're going to have to offer.
So it's like super, super new. I also have written down here that they're investing $4 million to build a facility. So the facility itself isn't even there yet. They would be, I wonder if we can get them on the show, because it'd be interesting to find out. I guess, even though it's not on their website as far as floor models and stuff like that goes, I would imagine that you have to have that idea first before you start building a facility. Otherwise, how would you know what the facility needs? Yeah. So you would have to have an idea.
Set up the line.
Yeah. Yeah. So you must have to have an idea first of what you're going to build before you do the facility. So
yeah, maybe we should reach out to them and try and get them on.
Yeah, I'll go back to their website. I got a link here for their website. So I'll go back and see if we can get a hold of somebody. So the CEO, her name is Ashley Bontrager
Lehman.
Oof. I won't be saying that again. And you did some digging, because in the article it just said that she comes from a family of a major RV manufacturer, but you were able to look her up and you found out that she was from what company was it, Sean?
Jayco. Her grandparents started Jayco.
Oh, her grandparents did. Okay.
Yeah.
So Jayco's been around them for a long.
I would imagine.
A little longer than I realized, and so that was her grandparents. Okay. Yeah, the big company. So I guess she's got, I guess you could say, probably RVing in her blood. That's kind of a cool thing then, that she is starting. Maybe it's a cool thing, maybe it's not. Maybe this is something, if we could get her on the show, like why branch off and do your own thing and not work with the J code? Maybe she just had a vision of a different type of RV, or we don't know yet because there's no floor models, but yeah, I think it'd be especially at this early stage, although I would imagine she's pretty busy getting stuff set up. Like when we had Alliance on the show, they were already building, but early, right? Then we catch them like as they were producing their first couple ones.
Yeah, they were pretty early in the production.
Yeah, and I thought that was a very interesting conversation. And he might not have had family, and maybe he did. Maybe his parents did have.
His father worked at Heartland, and him and his brother worked at Heartland, I think.
Yeah, so this could be a little similar, but we're actually catching them. If we do anyway, we might be able to catch them even at an earlier stage of the game. You know, all these people are super nice. They always invite us. Like he invited us out there to do a factory tour, and I haven't been to Indiana since. I would love to see these tours, see the factories of all these places. I love factory tours. And I guess it just makes sense, now that Indiana is so well known, like you have Lippert's there, I guess it just makes sense. It's probably easier to get shipments for the appliances and everything's right there. I guess it makes sense to build it because, like I said, 80%, like Winnebago, they're in Iowa. Newmar is in.
Newmar's in Indiana, aren't they?
Are they? Oh, are they?
Yeah, it's the other one. Tiffin's in Red Bay, Alabama.
Tiffin's in Alabama. That's who I got them confused. Okay.
I think Marathon coaches are in Texas somewhere.
Okay. Where's Arctic Fox?
North there. Yeah, Arctic Fox Northwood is Oregon.
Okay. So there's a couple big names that are not part of that Indiana, but for the most part, it's home. Yeah,
it's Indiana.
It's Indiana. Yeah. Well, that's where the Hall of Fame is too. I forget. Have you been there?
No, not yet.
You would love it. Yeah, that's awesome. If anybody's listening, definitely, if you're going through Indiana, it's not too far outside of Elkhart. It's not, I don't believe it's Elkhart. It's like a smaller town outside Elkhart, but it's a cool, if you're into RVing or museums or anything like that, I think you'd enjoy the RV Hall of Fame. They have some really cool RVs, and the history of RVing goes back way further back than you'd probably realize. And then when you see some of the things that they were doing, like in the 20s and 30s for RVing, you're like, oh, I thought that was kind of a newer idea. I mean, like, things that you almost think are almost like innovative now. It's like, oh, they've been doing it for 70 years. It's just, maybe the system that it's on is now hydraulic, where before it was like a crank or something like that. But but for the most part, it's very, very similar. And then we mentioned Winnebago, being built in Iowa. So the RVs are built in Iowa, Forest City, Iowa, to be exact. But their headquarters are moving to Minnesota, and I guess it's kind of difficult to find out like what they mean by headquarters. So the CEO is in Minnesota. He's always been in Minnesota, and they're just moving some of the rest of their primary offices, I guess, to Minnesota. But they say, we got a little quote here from Chad Reese, spokesperson for Winnebago. said that the company expects to continue producing the vehicles in Northern Iowa, where Winnebago employs about 2,100 workers, Forest City, Lake Mills, and Waverly. He said the company leaders own the address to align with where the executive offices are. And that goes back to the CEO. He's always been in Minnesota, so they're just kind of moving everybody else to where he is. I guess that makes sense. I mean, I can't imagine it. I'm sure, they say it doesn't change anything. I guess everything changes something, though. I guess it wouldn't matter. Like the service center still won't be in Forest City, Iowa. The production line still won't be there in Forest City, Iowa. I hope they continue. And it sounds like they don't have any plans for it. I actually know Chad. Chad's a super nice guy. I would imagine if they're saying that they're going to keep it would be such a nightmare to try to move everything. So I think they're being truthful that production's going to stay where it is, and they're just moving.
I wonder maybe if it's because they've been doing acquisitions over the last couple of years of like boat. They've got another boat manufacturer. They brought Newmar on.
Grand Design.
I wonder if it just makes a little like behind the scenes kind of sense to move, just because of all the acquisitions they've been doing and the growth of the overall Winnebago company, and not just what we think of as Winnebago maybe.
I always forget just how much they own. You just remind me that they bought a second boat company. So they already own Chris Craft,
yeah.
And now they've just bought another boat company that I think specializes in like pontoon boats. So, I mean, that's two boating companies. You got Winnebago RVs, then you got Newmar RV, and you got Grand Design RV. Yeah, I bet you that does play probably some type of part into it. They're more than just. So I think the company is actually like Winnebago. I think it almost has like a dual name nowadays. I think there's Winnebago, which encompasses all five, and then there's Winnebago RVs, which is just that RV and so Forest City. So Winnebago RV stays in Forest City. Winnebago, I guess as the parent name moves to Minnesota type of thing. It says that it's been in Forest City since 1958. And if you've been to Forest City, it is pretty much Winnebago. Like they could easily just change the name. Like it's crazy just how big Winnebago is there. It is like a town as far as, you got manufacturing, you got offices, you got Stitchcraft, which is where they do all their stitching. Then they got another building just for all the cabinetry. It's enormous. And then you got fairgrounds that holds 1,000 RVs for like parties and stuff like that. So Winnebago is a huge part of Forest City. I would imagine that Forest City would do everything possible to keep them there. Winnebago employs, it says 2,100 people. That's more people than that live in Forest City. So they employ more than what the city even has in population.
And it's funny because they make so many different types of RVs. Like they make travel trailers. They make like small travel trailers, fifth wheels, vans, Class A's, Class C's. They make everything.
Everything now. The diesels, the only thing I always say they make everything, but they don't make truck campers and they don't make pop-up travel trailers, I guess. They're probably the only two things I think they don't make, though. And I think at one time there used to be a Winnebago truck camper. I'll have to look into that. I think long ago there was.
Well, there was a Winnebago helicopter.
There was even a Winnebago helicopter at one time. You're right. Yeah. So, they literally have made everything.
I was most shocked by this was that they only have 2,100 people working at the Winnebago RV facility. I thought it would be more people than that by how much they produce,
Yeah, you're right, because the way that Chad worded it made it sound like that was Forest City, Charles City, the Lake Mills, and Waverly. It sounded like it was all their production lines. So that's the vans, the diesel pushers, and the gas Class A. So it's a lot of work for only 2,100 people. Probably you're right. Yeah. It sounds like a lot of people when you first say it, but then when you think about everything that they're doing.
So then we have some additional exciting news. We're going to be featured speakers, and I would say interviewers, I guess, at this year's Full-Time Freedom Week. And we're going to be doing a live Q&A session with Kent Wilson from SnapPad. We're thankful that the Full-Time Freedom Week folks asked us to do that. They could have, they could have done it themselves, but I think we have a pretty good relationship with the SnapPad folks, and we've talked to them multiple occasions, not just on the podcast, but also at events and things. So I'm actually very excited about doing this live Q&A with Kent. And we have an affiliate link, and we'll drop it in the notes to this video and the podcast. And you can see different things that are going to be talked about on Full-Time Freedom Week, like how other people are doing it. You can learn how other people are doing it, RVing full-time, traveling and working, tips for purchasing an RV, how to plan for life on the road, DIY RV maintenance and solar. And I think, I did a solar video for them a couple of years ago, and Kenny did some maintenance stuff for them. And they were actually pretty popular. I think a lot of people, want to learn about that kind of stuff. So very helpful, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say this. We've done a couple things throughout the years with Full-Time Freedom Week. So whenever they ask us to come back and do something, I always take that as a great honor and privilege, because they are, I believe they're the largest online RV event, right? Or how is that word?
Yeah.
Something
like that. Yeah.
And it's a great service that they provide. A lot of great information. If you're just starting out or you just want to learn more, they got great speakers. I'm not just saying that because Sean and I are part of it, but yeah, I mean, they get a lot of people that when you go to their website, you'll recognize the speakers. You're going to know that these people have been RVing for a long time and that they know what they're talking about. They got some really great speakers this year, and we're honored that they would ask us to be part of it. And like Sean said, I always enjoy talking with Kent. We've spoken with Kent a couple times.
Yeah.
We've had Kent on the show, and like you said, we've talked to him at shows too, off air. And SnapPad is one of those companies that I have really enjoyed watching grow, because when I first purchased my SnapPads like over 3 years ago, you didn't see too many of them at the time. And now when I go to campgrounds, I'm always looking, I'm like, oh, there's SnapPad, this car, this RV's got Snap. It's kind of been cool to watch them expand over the years and grow into what they've become. I mean, they got so many different sizes now. And I think we've talked to them in the past, like how difficult is that? Because every manufacturer is using different leveling jacks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you know the date of that interview, Kenny? I think it's the 23rd or the 22nd.
22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. Yep, and that'll be live. So you can go to the Full-Time Freedom Week website. Like Sean said, I'll put a little link in the show notes and everything. Go to their website. You can sign up for it, and you'll be able to watch us live, and we'll chat with Kent, and then you'll be able to see everybody else there. So some of the events are live, like ours is live, and then some of them are pre-recorded. Like Sean said, I have like a maintenance / purchasing video that I think is maybe part of it this year. I'm not really sure if it's part of it. Who knows? but some of that stuff's like pre-recorded. So if they have that this year, that's one that was pre-recorded. So I think it does a really nice job of some like a nice little mix. They're going to do live Q&As with you, the audience, and you can ask your questions about RVing and get answers like instantly, which is always, that's always nice.
And I think during our interview with Kent, people are going to be able to type questions.
Yep.
We'll try and get our best to get all those answered while we're talking with him.
Yeah. And he's super nice guy too. And he'll have all the answers too. Like he's the person that you want to ask. So Kent's it's a family business. Kent and Devin are the two brothers, but it's more than just them and the family running the business. Yeah, Kent knows everything. I don't think you'll stump him. We'll say it that way. We'll have an answer for you.
And then our next episode, Kenny, I'm really glad you suggested this, because I was completely clueless about this product until we interviewed them, and it's the Safety Plus. And maybe you can explain a little bit about it to get people excited about listening to that podcast, because it really was. I mean, I really had no idea about it, and now I'm interested.
Yeah. So the Safety Plus, again, a lot of times Sean and I use a lot of products in the RV industry, and this is a product that I bought almost immediately after RVing. So I bought the Safety Plus over 4 years ago. And this is like some of the things that how we try to find our guests, actually, our products that we've used that we like and we kind of want to share with other people. So the Safety Plus is originally designed to keep your vehicle straight in case of a tire blowout. So if you had a tire blowout happen while you were driving down the highway or any road, naturally your steering wheel wants to pull to the direction that the tire blowout is in. What the Safety Plus does is it's a stabilizer that's linked up underneath your RV. So if the tire would blow out, it senses that jerk and actually sets your steering wheel back straight again and gives you time to safely pull over to the side of the road. And the plus part of that is that it naturally is always trying to keep you centered. So if you have an RV that kind of wanders left to right a little bit, or is affected by wind, or the tractor trailer's kind of pushing you over, to me, the best way to describe this is it takes away that white knuckle driving. So like something like a Class A. I mean, it can be used in several RVs, but something like a Class A, where we're kind of big, we're heavy, we're top heavy, we are affected very much so by the wind because it just, I mean, we're almost like a billboard or a sign being pushed by. So the Safety Plus has just made a night and day difference for me driving the RV. And I know I've said this before. I've driven 97,000 miles in my RV. I wouldn't drive 100 miles without the Safety Plus bar. Like might drive 100 miles to put a Safety Plus bar back on, but that's about as far as I would want to go without one anymore.
But what I liked about it was it's so, I think this is like a sign of a good engineering team, is that like it's so simple even to install and set as long as you know what you're doing. It's very simple, not very complicated, but it does such an important job.
Yeah, I've had mine on for 90,000 miles and haven't touched the thing since they. So I mean, you'll hear it in the interview. I had a company install it and they did goof it up a little bit. Safety Plus did take care of it shortly afterwards at the Winnebago Rally. They were at the Winnebago Rally and they took care of it for free. They actually replaced some parts for free and they reinstalled it for free. They're super good company. So they impressed me right away with it. So they're on the show and they're talking about, what goes into the R&D of the product, how long they've been around, what type of vehicles do they fit. I think they did a great job of answering all of our questions. Again, just very professional and very, again, another company that's just very customer focused. They want to make sure every person is satisfied with the product. Like I said, they gave me parts for free and they did an installation for free. How do you beat that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised that most of these big Class A's especially just don't have that installed from the factories, And
that was one of our questions, and you'll hear his answer of why he had a good answer for it.
Yeah.
It's a safety thing. And if this was, if it was like the automotive industry, it would be on there already. I think anyway, just like an airbag, just like a seat belt. I'm not trying to knock the RV industry, but in the automotive world, anytime that there's a safety feature that is proven, it becomes a standard. And in the RV industry, not so much. It takes a long, long time for change to happen. When does that episode come out, Sean?
2 weeks, 16th of September, I think.
There you go. I always give Sean the tough questions. I don't know anything. I'm lucky if I know what today is, let alone what's on happening next 2 weeks.
I'm getting that way, Kenny. I'm telling you. This training stuff has got me all messed up. But
it's not fun getting old. I think that's everything we wanted to talk about in this episode. We want to, again, thank and welcome Temp Stick for sponsoring this episode and all the next episodes for the end of this year. And we want to thank Battleborn Batteries for their continued support. Battleborn Batteries.
They've been with us since the beginning.
Very beginning. They jumped on with us early on and they've never left our side. Cannot say enough good things about Battleborn Batteries when it comes to them in the RV industry and supporting. I mean, they are such a force for good, I would say, in the RV industry, just in general. Really, two nice guys that own. Are they the only two owners, Sean? I say that, but I'm not even sure if that's 100% sure, positive. But
I think there might be a third
nice guys.
person.
There might be somebody else that maybe he's like a silent
We've just
partner.
never met.
Like that. Just never met him. He's quieter than Sean and Dennis. But yeah, again, two super nice guys that work together that have created an incredible company that are very customer focused. They want everybody to be happy. I don't know anybody that has Battleborn batteries that are not happy with them. They're amazing.
And they do a lot of charitable things that you never hear about.
Yeah, they're very
So that's
quiet
just-
about it. I've told them a couple times that they need to be more vocal about their charitable and in the way they help other organizations and helps. And they always say, well, we're not trying to brag or this or that. But I always think it's good when I don't think you got to tell people how much you're spending on something, but I think it's good if you just say, hey, we're participating in this, we're contributing to this. And it just brings awareness sometimes to those events. Yeah, super nice guys, really nice guys. If you haven't already, definitely check out battlebornbatteries.com. I don't know. I guess that's it for tonight then, Sean. All right, everybody. Take care.
Safe travels.
Safe travels.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety. So go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com. Hey everyone, Kenny here. Do you travel with pets and are looking for a way to monitor and be alerted of temperature spikes in your RV while away? I've been using a Temp stick in our RV for over 3 years, and I love the simplicity of being able to connect to any of our hotspots, as well as not having the hassle of any subscription or service fees. If you are looking for a reliable way to protect your pets while away, check out Temp stick at tempstick.com.